Yeah, that's this black line. Keith, can you join me in the instructor room? I'd like to test you on a situation before I leave. Ha, that's nice. Sure, Keith. At least, I believe I can. Instructors, click. Hey, Keith. No, it doesn't work yet. Keith, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello. Let me see if I can also increase the volume here. Because you're a little bit low on volume, at least on my side.
Gotcha.
Also lower my engine sounds. This is better. This is better. Go ahead, Keith. Welcome aboard.
That's all right. Thanks, man. I probably won't say too much. I have a limited amount of time before the family wakes up when we get started for the day, but there's one failure that I don't think you've been introduced to yet, and I wanted to see how you would do with it. But it is a potentially fatal one. So I wanted to be with you so that we both go down with the ship. If it
Roger.
happens. No, actually, so that if this would be actually one of those cases where it's appropriate to potentially pause it if you find you've lost control of the airplane, and we want to discuss ways of resolving it. It would be appropriate to pause it instead of just die.
You're making me so curious. This is the best time. I have all the time in the world today, so I'm actually quite curious to see what you're up to. Does it matter where I am in relation to other airports, or can we do it right away?
Good question. No, we can do it anyway.
Okay, guys, let me see. What does the chat likes to see happening? Guys, would you like me to engage in this scenario of Keith here on the spot and we just postpone our planned flights here, or would you like me just to continue flying and doing this visual navigation stuff? And I guess I can expect a positive. Well, Evanek is saying yes, Miniwebs is saying yes. Okay, Keith, that's already enough for me. I think everyone likes to see what you're up to. Go ahead.
Okay. So you will, once this is resolved, you can actually still continue. There's no reason you have to completely stop the flight.
Roger. Guys.
It can happen at any time.
All right.
Actually, it takes me a second to set it up.
Thanks for the follows, guys. BP, thank you. Okay, let's concentrate here. There it goes. There's a down pitch there. There's a down pitch. Thanks, guys. Is the trim working? Why am I getting a nose down pitch? What can I do to change that? It's gonna exceed. What would be wrong here? My trim is stuck. What can I do with that? How can I disable a trim, guys? Slower on speed. Perhaps turn off my... First, I also need to find a way to ditch the airplane. I would say to a road. Let's go to the left here. But I cannot manage. I need to fully pull. I can use perhaps a little bit of a right turn and use my rudders. So I pitch my... So now my rudders become a little bit of an elevator so I can turn up. What a failure is this? Let me see if I can do that. I still need some airflow, obviously. How can I change this, guys? Flaps, maybe. Yeah. Am I ripping?
I gave you the trim back for now.
The trim back for now. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, power in. Come on. All right, stabilized, I guess. What's my trim doing? Yeah, it's working now. Okay, back we are.
Very interesting, because normally when you call for a pitch trim runaway, typically when that happens, we make it run up, not down. That's actually the first time I've ever run that failure, and it looks like it ran it down, which surprised me. Which made it even harder.
Yeah.
There are remedies for the pitch trim up.
Interesting.
Normally to enter a bank. so that you don't end up in a really high nose-up attitude. You can at least
Roger.
roll over to a very steep turn, even past 90 degrees sometimes if necessary, to make the nose fall back down again.
Roger.
Roll closer to wind's level and it'll pitch up, but it's very hard to do it for pitch down. So what makes, think about the pitch trim system. What is required for the pitch trim to function in this airplane?
You mean mechanically, or?
Yes, yeah, because there is a motorized trim system, correct?
A motorized trim? I thought it was just some wires that go all the way up to the tail. It's not electrically powered, right? It's just a...
It should be electrically powered. In your flight in the 172, was there not a trim switch on the left-hand side of the yoke?
No, well, at least not here. At least not virtually here in the Cessna 172. Or is it?
Oh, that's it.
But that's
Yeah,
interesting. Well, I can imagine. I have seen Cessna 172 cockpits indeed, where on the yoke there is a trim, an electrical trim thingy.
Yes, I think that there normally are. I think in this plane, this is modeled on a 172S, which does have electric trim, so I don't know why he hasn't put it on the yoke. However, given that it is electrically powered, the trim is electrically powered.
Yeah, then you can turn off the switch off the electrical system associated with the trim.
Yep. So do you want to give that? Should we give that a try next time it runs away? And see if you. You'd normally pull the breaker. If that doesn't work, you then go to the electrical system.
Oh, you can also pull the circuit breakers out. Is that what you said?
In the real airplane, at least if it's related to the autopilot, you would typically just pull the breaker. In X-plane, the breakers aren't functional. Honestly, this happens so quick in a real airplane. Going straight for the master is not a bad idea. And then if you want to later on pull the breaker and then try and switch the electrical system back on.
Fascinating.
But the master switch is your lifesaver in this case. So why don't we try it again and see? Let's see if that's functional to hit the master switch to kill it.
Go ahead. Yeah, there it goes. Now it's going up like it should, I guess. So if I now put off the masters, it's still going, Keith, I think.
Okay, in that case, I'll hit the fix button. So they haven't modeled it properly in the electrical system.
Roger, but it makes sense what you're guiding me through. So in this case, if that happens, then you would try to disable the electrical system associated with the trim. In this case, the master switch will also remedy the problem, but better would be just to pull the circuit breaker associated with the trim, right?
Yes, if there is a circuit breaker for the trim, or certainly if it's related to autopilot function. So if the autopilot is enabled, you cannot disable the autopilot, and it's calling for a lot of trim for some reason, then it becomes a question of how do you disable the autopilot specifically.
Roger.
There's usually three. So there's the AP disconnect switch on the yoke, there's a circuit breaker, and then there's the master switch. There should always be 3 ways to disable the autopilot.
Wow, interesting. Thanks, Keith. But anyway, okay, so the Cessna 172, at least in X-plane, the default one, is not then properly built, I guess, to really simulate that scenario, because apparently the electrical system is not wired or connected to the trim, as we see.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Roger.
I'll test it in the stock 172, see what happens. But anyway, you see how panic-inducing it is.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
You no longer have control of the airplane. It's very hard to think logically and come up with new approaches, and that really highlights the point that when the chips are down, you tend to do what you're trained for, as opposed to coming up with great solutions on your own. So that's why it's so important to train for that stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is interesting. Okay. Are there any other scenarios that you might introduce in some later streams that are kind of like this kind? Or, I mean, at one time we run out of these interesting new scenarios, right? But are there any other challenging new thingies?
This is about the only one. I mean, the split flap where you rip off one of the flaps is a good one, but you don't really deal with that in cruise. You only deal with that on approach, and most people work out pretty quickly. As soon as they put the flaps down, the plane starts rolling. What the hell is going on? They retract the flap and they're good to go. This is about the only one that really causes massive amounts of panic that I know of.
Man, I can't imagine. But the first reflex of me trying to bank was the main solution, right? That was the good way of going about it, right? If that happens, and if you're unable to switch off the system at least, because that's obviously the first thing that you like to do, the electrical system.
If it's pitching up, then rolling is good. For pitching down, honestly, I don't really know what you could have
No,
done
that's true.
beyond what
No,
you're
that's
already
true.
doing.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, in theory, you could roll inverted. If the plane has enough negative elevator authority to do level flight inverted, you can try that. You can also try flaps. Flaps will give you a little bit extra pitching moment.
Yeah, that's what Evanek was saying as well. Yeah. Interesting. Well, thanks again, Keith, and have a great, great day.
All right, you're welcome, man. Back to your regular flight.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
See you.
Wow. That's Pilot Edge again for you guys. Just the CEO just dropping by just to teach you something. Wow. That was interesting. Yeah, so again, to summarize, so what happened here is we went down, and that's not actually what or at least what Keith was expecting that would happen. So in terms of bank up, yeah, we could go into a bank. Flaps might have worked in this case, as you guys suggested. And apparently there should be some electrical system associated with the trim. I thought it was just wires, just plain old wires that you can just turn, that you just, well, manipulate by using the trim wheel. But that's interesting to know. Man, that would be so confusing in the real world. Okay. Well, thanks again, Keith. Very educational. Jumps out of the plane. Awesome. And guys, thank you for all the follows. Let me see. So many of you. Eidke, thanks for the bits. Thank you. Very encouraging. Topeman and Killer.